There's a possibility that this old railroad may be erased permanently. I actually just got done exploring a few different areas of this line, and what I found may surprise you, especially down that direction. Not only is there evidence of what's taking place, but there's something down there I found that could use your help on identifying what it is. The reason I'm documenting it is because this area is a proposed area of a new rail trail, and that means anything that still might exist today could be erased tomorrow. Well, if you want to find out what used to be here, see what I found, and a whole lot more, all you need to do is come along with me. Before we take one footstep in any direction, we need to first learn what used to exist here. Check this out. Now, the area we're checking out and exploring today is Ashley, Pennsylvania, located in Luzerne County. That may sound familiar because I've done a number of different videos there, both mining and rail related videos over the years. And what we're looking at is a building right here, which is the Ashley Borough Municipal Building, where you can see there's some active lines. And this is also close proximity to the Huber Breaker site. I've also done a couple videos there, most recently earlier this year, where I did cover the UGM underground miners excavating and unearthing the old mine slope on the property there. Now, any videos I'm mentioning, they will be linked down below. Highly encourage you to check them out, including the ones related to this area here, because in this area, well, we learned quite a bit over a number of different visits. Originally, several years ago, Lily and myself did visit this location to check out some old rail lines in existence right in this wooded section here. We did find them, didn't know much about it at the time, but they led us to a culvert system that comes underneath here. So I returned with my friend Alan. We investigated the culvert system. I snorkeled the waters, checked out the area. It was a really cool exploration. And I then learned that over in this area, to the left of the tracks, was an old car shop and a turntable roundhouse right in this area. So I returned for 2 additional visits to document those, as well as tracing an old abandoned line through this area here. They had an old bridge still in existence and a few other things that were hiding out there. So this area has been heavily documented by me, but we've learned some new things which I do want to share with you and bring you back here for a new exploration, which is going to start here, but then it's going to branch off in 2 different directions. So before I continue, let me tell you some information about what was going on here. This area was known as the Ashley Yards. It was the home of the Central Railroad of New Jersey, which was a Class 1 railroad with origins in the 1830s. It was absorbed into Conrail in April of 1976. CNJ's lines in Pennsylvania were built by the Lehigh Coal and Navigation Company as the Lehigh and Susquehanna Railroad, also labeled as L&S. The main line was completed between Phillipsburg, New Jersey and Wilkes-Barre in 1866. Now, jumping over to Rail Guide, we do see the same location. Here's the municipal building, here's the active lines, and here's the turntable and car shop area. Well, if we open up Current Classic, well, we could see a lot was going on here back in the day. Today, it's Luzerne, Susquehanna. That's the only operating line coming through here. But back in the day, this was a big hub for CNJ. It did service the Huber Breaker site, and we already know that there was a turntable. Now, the roundhouse is not showing up here specifically, but if we do switch to attractions, well, there it is. Comes up right here. Now, the roundhouse originally had a 70-foot turntable, which was later upgraded to a 100-foot turntable to accommodate larger locomotives. And also in this area was a bridge that burned and the car shop. Now, it did have a good duration of operation. The CNJ Ashley Yard was in operation until 1972, so that is over 100 years that it operated. Somewhere around that time, there was a fire which razed a bridge and the car shop. I'll tell you more about that in just a little bit. And after the closure, Conrail operated here until the early 1980s, when it was determined the yard and many other lines were no longer needed, and most were ripped up for reuse or for scrap. What you're looking at right now is a 90s image of this area from Google Earth. I'm going to overlay a graphic that I created, and that's going to transition into more modern day. Now, the graphic I created is of importance because it helps label a few things. The yellow line shows the yard area. That's where the roundhouse and car shop is located. So we're going to reference that area as the yellow line. The red line was a branch line heading north, going up through a neighborhood. We're going to check that out, follow it for a little bit, But the most important line that we're checking out today is the blue line, which is heading east. That's the line that is under proposal for being turned into a rail trail. The one that has the most likelihood of being reconstructed and transformed from how we're going to find it today. So that's the main reason why we are here, primarily for the blue line, but we're going to check out a little bit of the yellow line, some of the red line, and focus later on the blue line. Now on Google Earth, we're looking at 2025, but if we take it back to 1992, we can see a few more things are visible here. So we have these lines here. This was the car shop area that did burn. Roundhouse turntable area was here, although you can't really see it here. But there are a few other things we could point out. Now right here, it looks like a bridge. And that is indeed what it is, because the red line came under at a sweeping curve and went north under that bridge. The blue line came up and over the bridge heading east. So the red and blue line, even though they're both CNJ, going different directions, different locations, did intersect each other, crossing over and under each other right here at this bridge area. We're also going to focus too, once I get back on foot, of this area right here and also this building, because this building was here in older days. I have an old photo showing what this area used to look like, so we're going to do it before and after. There was lines going across the road, there was lines going down the road, and lines, I believe, underneath the road under the bridge. So this area looked a lot different back in the day, but some of it still looks the same today. Now, coming over here, we can see back in the 90s, this is going underneath Route 81, Route 309, 81 North here, then it hits the scrapyard area. That's as far as we're going to be able to go, but let me show you where it used to go beyond that. So here we are following the blue line, as I mentioned, 81 309, 81 again, and the scrapyard. So it went directly through the scrapyard, or at least close to it, continues past it, going past the work site, comes up here to Hall Road, industrial area, different companies and businesses, cut right through there, borders a neighborhood, and then we reach East Northampton Street. Now this is an area of significance and importance for a number of reasons. Number one, this is Laurel Run, Pennsylvania. Down here is Georgetown. Laurel Run, Pennsylvania, I've covered multiple different times because, number one, there is an underground mine fire taking place. Not only is there fissures and vents right here, but also back here in this area. There's an active mine fire burning today, and there is fissures and vents all around this area. So here there's a few of them, one or two over here, and possibly over here. I can't remember exactly where they are, but definitely 2 out of these 3 locations do have fissures and vents. I've documented it multiple times. Laurel Run is also home to the Giants Despair Hill Climb. It's one of the longest hill climb races still going on today. I made a video on that. And earlier this year, we did document the old CNJ coming through Laurel Run. And as I back it out here, we could see it makes a big loop. Over here along 115 is Seven Tubs Recreation Area. And then it comes all the way back here, back to Laurel Run Road and East Northampton Street. Now it is labeled right here as the D&L Trail, but the trail is not finished. There is a completed section, but it terminates right here with no way to access it. It's basically the weirdest rail trail in Pennsylvania currently. So anything that still exists here today, such as rails, ties, hardware, any infrastructure, foundations, those things are in jeopardy of being ripped up and removed as the area is transformed and paved or crushed gravel for a rail trail. So that's why I do want to document it sooner than later, because it has been talked about for a few years. And since we do have a completed section here in the Laurel Run area, well, people are finding out about it, but there's no easy way to access it. I accessed it by basically coming through the woods past the fissure area and picking it up back here. Now, as we did learn also, if we go back to early owners, this was built by L&S, Lehigh and Susquehanna. So Lehigh and Susquehanna built it, but CNJ operated on it. Now, looking at RailGuide and Google Earth is helpful, but it's even more helpful if we could see exactly what used to exist here. So let's do that right now. So here we are in 1939. This area right here is going to be where the municipal building is eventually built. Here we have the turntable, a little bit more than half of a roundhouse. It wasn't a full complete circle. And here's the car shop. The bridge is here. So red line going north, blue line going east. And right here is the Huber Breaker site where they're mining the anthracite coal. So that's what it used to look like back then. We could jump ahead to 1959. Here some changes have been made. Right now we could see that the turntable is still there, but the roundhouse was partially dismantled. I don't know why, but it's only a fraction of the size it used to be. Car shop's still there. This yard is still in operation, we know, until 1972. And here's the Huber Breaker site, fully in service, being serviced by the CNJ. That bridge here is a little bit more visible. Again, red line sweeps under that bridge, going up through the neighborhood. The blue line sweeps over, heading east towards Laurel Run. Now here we have a labeled image. This is really great to see because it labels and identifies a lot of things. So this is the proposed site of the municipal building, which was eventually built. But that used to be the boiler shop and blacksmith area. We can see the stacks here for the boiler shop. Blacksmith area was most likely next to it. Here's the roundhouse turntable area. There's a coal tipple for loading coal into the locomotives. A station over here, which we're going to be walking by this area. That building I did mention, Ashley Town Hall, right there. This is in existence back in 1938, which is when this picture is from. So that town hall has been there a long time. You can see Huber Breaker site. There was a paint shop here, car shops labeled. So a lot of great things on this image for both rail and mining history right here in Ashley, Pennsylvania. You could go a step further to a blueprint of the area from 1938. Again, turntable, roundhouse area. We could see it's a little bit more than a half semicircle. Shop area here and all the different lines coming through here, both for the shop area, the roundhouse turntable area, the stalls, the different lines leaving and coming to the site. So a lot going on here with different images, different buildings that are labeled. It's hard to imagine what it used to look like back then to how it is today. Now I talked about a fire. There was a couple fires here. The first one was a bridge and rail ties. It says a fire of undetermined origin struck a railroad bridge in the Ashley yards of Conrail, setting ablaze railroad ties and blackening the skies in Hanover Township and South Wilkes-Barre area Wednesday night. The bridge, which spans Solomon's Creek, was damaged extensively beginning shortly after 7 p.m. and brought numerous inquiries to the Citizen's Voice, which is a newspaper, as to the source of the acrid smell wafting over a large area carried by northerly winds. Fire was tapped out shortly before 9 p.m. by the Hanover Township and Ashley volunteer fire companies, which responded. Another fire here damaged the car shops. I'm going to read just part of it. If you want to pause and read the rest, you're welcome to. It says the Ashley car shops, utilized for decades by the Central Railroad of New Jersey for railroad car repairs, were destroyed by a spectacular general alarm fire late Saturday afternoon. More than 150 firefighters from several communities battled the stubborn blaze in the wood frame shops, which eventually collapsed and burned into the night. The fire generated a thick column of oily smoke that drifted over Ashley and the surrounding area. I also found an interesting article about the final train that operated at the Ashley Yards. It was dubbed the funeral train. It says March 31st, 1972, the CNJ Railroad closed its Ashley Yard, ending more than 100 years of operations that were closely tied to the region's anthracite industry, obviously servicing the Huber Breaker site. Unionized employees of the CNJ refused to assemble the final train or to even take it to New Jersey. Management employees, including the yardmaster and trainmaster, filled roles they held in their younger days to complete that final train. The CNJ lasted only a few more years, where on April 1st, 1976, the railroad and several other failing lines were rolled into the Consolidated Rail Corp, known best as Conrail. The federal government created Conrail to take over potentially profitable lines of bankrupt carriers, including the CNJ, Penn Central, Lehigh Valley, and Erie-Lackawanna. As we jump back to modern day here, Ashley, Pennsylvania, 2025, this is where our exploration and journey is going to begin. We're going to come back here to show you a few remnants and highlights of the roundhouse area.
not much is left, but there are a few things there, like a pit or two and some rails. The car shop, I'm not going to bother going to. It is a rather thick area, but it is covered in its own separate dedicated video. And we're then going to come over here to the road, show you the before picture of the town hall and how the area used to look and basically fade into modern day. And then we're going to come over, hopefully find remnants of that old bridge to see where the red line went and the blue line went, north and east. We're going to follow the red line a little bit north through the neighborhoods. We may have to take some alternate routes because some of the rail does go through private property. And as we can see, the rails right here are still in existence in some of the areas. They're right here on modern Google Earth images. But one thing I did find as an error is if we jump back to right here, rail guide. So if we do follow that red line and we go to current classic, we're going to see it doesn't line up as it's supposed to. So the line is right there. We could see it, but it shows the line about 10 to 20 feet away from it. So as I mentioned before, the Railguide app or site gets you pretty close. Sometimes it's pinpoint accuracy. Other times it's a ballpark accuracy. This case, it's ballpark accuracy, but we could clearly see the old rail line, whether this line was here or not. It does curve up, go up here, and then basically go north out of Ashley towards Wilkes-Barre. We'll then backtrack to the bridge area and then head east, seeing what's left of the blue line, heading towards 81 and stopping right before the scrapyard. That's going to be our main primary focus, looking for anything from the old railroad days. Not sure what's going to be left, if anything. And also notice too, looks like a Y used to be here, W-Y-E. So they used to be able to turn locomotives around right here as well with the triangular shaped track. So they had turntable, a Y, and a whole bunch of other things going on, which we already learned about. So let's get on foot, head back to the parking area here, and start our investigation.
So we're calling this ground zero. This is the Ashley Borough building, which was the site, as we learned, of the former powerhouse and blacksmith shop, which means directly in this way, we're going to be walking right towards the roundhouse area. And thankfully most of the snow is gone, but we shouldn't get too far in until we come upon some remains of what used to exist. So there's a section of the line still intact. But where we want to go is right over here. Now remember, I'm considering this area the yellow line, which is the yard area, roundhouse, and car shop area. So once we do approach the red line, I'll update you from there, but we need to kind of cut through here a little bit, and somewhere right up here should be some ruins of the roundhouse. So we have a concrete wall right there, another concrete wall right here, and various other ones. But right here in front of us, which may not show through on camera, there's a bit of a depression, which I'm standing in right now. And the reason being is because this is one of the stalls for the locomotives. We have rails right here. So this may be inside the roundhouse, may be in front of it, because we do know there is like lines positioned this way right in front of the roundhouse, which would be right in front of us here. But this very well could be inside the roundhouse, and these pits are common because, well, they could do inspections and work on the locomotives as they're sitting on the rails, just like a mechanic's pit. So this would be much deeper than what we see, but the rails do continue all the way up. And these are basically stalls or slots for locomotives. And the farther you go back, the more remains you do find. There's some brick, there's some poles there, concrete, even more concrete right here in front of us here. Again, I did cover this area more extensively in a previous visit, which we documented this, and the car shop, which would be over that direction. But there are some different walls, different foundations, a lot of different things going on, including the still intact rails right up there. But this is the yellow line area that we learned about, which means now we have to backtrack, go towards the road, because I have something special to show you over there. So what you're looking at right now is an old image of what I believe is City Hall. We saw it on the 1938 map, and this building's been here for quite some time, especially when the rails were in operation. And if you look before the building, going across the road, there's crossing gates, there's rails. One of the lines, which I believe is the blue line that we're gonna be tracing, went across the road here, right in front of this building. We're now gonna fade to present day, December 2025. Area has changed, but a lot of it's still the same. Rails going across the road are gone, but the City Hall building's still there, and looks like on the old image there's a building on the left-hand corner, which today looks like Kelsey's Corner. I think that was still there at that time as well, original structure. Crossing gates are gone, rails are gone, but the blue line that's going to be a proposed rail trail, well, this is where it crossed over this street. And off to my left-hand side here would have been the station. Would have been situated right in this area here, along the road, right near the tracks, kind of catty corner of that building. Now we're standing on a bridge looking straight ahead, and there are rails over there, I believe. Hard to see them from here, but that is another line that passed under this bridge. So as we explained, one went under, one went over, but we know this was here. Rails came underneath it. I believe this was the red line, which came, and if we follow it, should sweep up towards the neighborhoods. Blue line came over, went over east. So we're gonna find the red line somewhere, pick it up, and proceed from there. You can see as well that tall steel pole there actually has a light on it just above those bushes there. That may be original as well, lighting up this area back in the day. I just verified on the Railguide app. We are basically at the crossroads right now, and I believe somewhere back here would have been the bridge. But obviously the landscape has changed as well. Now there is remnants of a support or a base for something right there. And we know the line came right through here. And looks like the red line that would have came under the bridge that we talked about probably would have came down here where this water is today, just a low-lying area, and it would have crossed over somewhere up here. So I don't see any bridge abutments or ruins of a bridge. Probably long gone. Looks like the area again has been worked and transformed a bit, but we know we're in the right area though. So this is where what I'm calling red went under and blue went over. So I'm going to traverse down here, head north, and we should find remnants of the red line section. Okay, we made some progress. Didn't get very far, but we made progress in what was going on here. So we were standing at the edge of the lot over there, talking about where the lines were crossing and about our bridge being there. Well, as far as I know, I don't think it was a bridge. I think it was a tunnel, and I think we're standing on it right now because I did see some evidence down here signifying that. So I believe what I'm calling the blue line crossed over here. The red line went this way. So app was off about 20-30 feet from the location. Not terrible. It got me pretty close, confirming we're in the right area. So this line here would go straight through this path here, across the road, past the municipal building, into the yard area, where we know the red line was lower, curved under that bridge, which is the road today, and also headed into the yard. So now we have the crossroads right here, which I'm standing on top of. So I'm gonna try to make my way down here, show you what that looks like today. Okay, getting some conflicting evidence here. So you can see right there, those are stone blocks for a wall. And as we come over here, we have this, another wall. This could be one of two things. It could either be a bridge abutment, or it also could be the parts of a tunnel going through here. We do know the lines crossed over each other, whether through a tunnel or the use of a bridge. The old images do look like a bridge, but there is a small chance it could have been a tunnel. And the area has been transformed, so if there was a tunnel, well, it's filled in. And the area that we're standing on, I think would have been down lower. It's obviously built up with debris and material. So small chance of a tunnel, probably better likelihood of a bridge like we assumed, and would have crossed somewhere up there. So it looks like the gap where the rails would have been is filled in. That's why it's a bit confusing. But we know this wall here continues right along the edge of the berm there. So as far as I know, where we are now, down lower, should be the red line. And if we follow in this direction, it should take us to the neighborhood with sections of intact rails. Well, we have made some more progress, not distance-wise, but evidence-wise. Roughly 40, 50 feet ahead is the stone retention wall, which we said is maybe a bridge abutment or part of a tunnel. Well, came over this direction and look what we have. Rails are here. This is what I dubbed the red line. So we know it was down lower. The blue line, which we're tracing later, went over this. So these rails basically go straight into the embankment, which we know is not original. It's been filled in. So either the bridge was there and the gap is filled in, or the tunnel's filled in, one or the other. But this line went straight through and went out how we explained. So now we could trace this, for the most part, for a few blocks, going through some residential areas. But we have to divert a few areas because this does go through people's property. Back here we're okay, but up ahead I do know it goes through people's backyards and side yards. But how fantastic is this though, that this is still in existence? Oh, look at this. It's like ready to break right off. If I do find a nice clear area, we'll look for some dates. But at the very least, this is all the evidence I could ask for right here, at least for this section. Intact rails, rail bed, and a clear, defined line where trains once traveled. These aren't in terrible shape. I've seen much worse, I've seen much better. But for the most part, they're holding it pretty well. I can't really see the ties though, they could be loose in place. There's also some trees growing right over the top of the rail. So you can tell trains haven't traveled through here in decades. As far as we know, the last time that this was possibly used was in the 1980s. So that's roughly 4 decades of non-use, which would explain about the tree growth here. Looks like anywhere from 30 to 40 years old, maybe even 50 in some. But at least we have a ballpark figure as to what we're dealing with here. Well, we may be in luck. We have a clear section of rail, and I think I can make out some of what was here. Okay, so we have Steelton, which is the plant, I believe. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 tally marks. That would be October. Oh, here's the 9. Okay, 19 to 1928 possibly. 1928. Not sure if you guys could see where I am over here, but it is faint. I could barely make it out. If it wasn't for the flashlight, I wouldn't be able to see it. But it looks like 1928, 10 tally marks, October. Steelton right there. So it could be Bethlehem steel. But if we get a better, clear visual sign, we'll definitely try to capture it. But at least we have something here. So these rails were created roughly 100 years ago. Be neat living up here, come down here, clear out a few hundred feet of line, create a homemade rail cart, just ride back and forth right here on your own little private line. Lines continue and disappear underground. And we don't know if they're still there and buried or cut and removed, but there is the end of a road here. So they would have crossed straight through here, we know that. And I need to see if I could get up here and continue, or I may need to go out to a residential street, but the line most likely continued straight through in that direction. As I suspected, it crossed the road, came through this backyard here, And once we clear that property, they pick up again right here. I didn't get very far. I just noticed this. Off to the left here, a concrete box with a metal lid on it. I believe that's a battery box. That'd be for supplemental power for a crossing gate, which may have been behind us there. So, pretty sure that's what we're looking at right there. This area here is not easy to navigate. Watch your eyes. Duck, duck. What the hell? Ugh, I was literally stuck there. Now, what I was going to say before I got stuck is, if I'm not mistaken, we're going to be walking to a bridge. We have rows in elevation. The properties are down lower. And as far as I know, based on what I've seen during research, should be a bridge up here. Oh, yes, indeed. Here we are. We 100% have a bridge. So here's the side of it going down to the road. So now we can see this does resemble what we found before, which is, it could have been a tunnel, could have been a bridge. Looks eerily similar, but that one was filled in. This bridge is still here, and we're gonna be able to cross it. This is a tiny bit sketchy. So we have a bridge. The manway walkway is here, but it's in deplorable condition. And they have some steel plates up here between the rails here where I'm walking, so it makes it doable, but not ideal. This is about as best view we're gonna get. So ultimately I have to come down and get you. We'll continue on, but this is still here. It's great to see it. Looks like at one time it may have been wide enough for even 2 rails to cross over here. Down here on ground level now, and just wanted to see if I could find any build dates. Not finding anything at all. We could presume 1800s unless it was rebuilt at some point, but it is completely made out of stone, mortared together, built to last. But there is one observation which does confirm my thoughts above, is, well, you can see that these bridge beams are sitting on 2 large blocks right there. They're different from the other ones. Well, right next to it are 2 more large blocks. So it is pretty safe to assume that this was double lined at one time. There was another set of beams sitting directly over us right now. And when traffic started dying down, they just removed it. Sits eerily quiet today. Nothing more than road traffic beneath it, but still has a story to tell. We're walking the street front here for a bit, and look at this building right here. Built on the corner, shaped like a giant triangle or a piece of cheese. Neat looking as well. It's got the curved, it's like subway tile glass right there. Pretty awesome looking structure. Now walking on Marcy Court. It's an alleyway. I went around a few homes and dead end areas, and the rails still continue. So we crossed the bridge back in that direction. Rails are kind of intermittent between here and there, but they're still here. I'm not sure if this is considered someone's yard or if it's like township property, but we are going to stop here. I think we've seen enough. We know exactly where the line went. We know there's still a good chunk of it left in existence, and a lot of it is buried. I don't think much of it's been removed, mostly buried, but a lot of it's still exposed and looks like ready to handle some train traffic any day now, at least in this immediate section. So, documenting the red line, huge success. Found more than I was imagining. I knew based on the research that sections like this were still intact. Little did I know the bridge was still there and that we would pick up the rails so quickly by the confusion area of a bridge or a tunnel. I'm going to be 70-30, 70 bridge, 30 tunnel, where the lines did intersect. We now have to backtrack all the way to that area and now trace the blue line all the way to 81 North. What are we going to find over there? There's only one way to find out, so keep watching. Hey, kitty, kitty. Psst, 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 psst. Definitely put in the footwork today, so I want to give you just a brief update. We already know we covered a section of the yellow line area where the turntable was over by the Borough building. And we covered as much as we wanted to the red line, which was incredible of how much is still left. And over here to my right, roughly 50-60 feet away, is the bridge area where the lines crossed or intersected. So according to the Railguide app, the blue line's back here, and it's the third section that we have to document today, but it's the longest section. We're going to be walking all the way to hopefully 81 North, where we stop at the scrapyard, which is going to be private property, of course. Between here and there, I don't know what's left of it at all, if anything. I don't know if there's any rails. There may not be in certain sections, but we're going to be on the lookout for anything man-made related to the railroad days, like plates, ties, spikes. I thought I heard someone coming. Foundations for mileposts or signals or anything like that of the sorts. But even if we don't find anything, you know, we're going to be able to see what this line used to look like before, if indeed it does change into a rail trail. But I'm only going to show you things of significance or importance, otherwise we'll be out here all day. So we got a lot of ground to cover, so let's start moving. And watch, it's a little bit icy here. Anybody bring their ice skates? So far, this section looks like a prime candidate for the extension of the D&L trail coming from Laurel Run. So I can see why they want to use this section. Not only does it go directly to it, but there's a lot of areas right now that we're walking that don't interfere with anyone's property. We know that changes further up, close to Laurel Run, but regardless, right here shouldn't be much of a problem at all. All right, things are changing here. We are rising in elevation. I see a piece of heavy machinery up here. I do hear the highway up ahead. Hopefully we can continue this way. Okay, I think I need to find a detour to someone's property here. All right, let me find my way around it, but it looks like, as far as I know, the line would continue straight through here. All right, I was able to find a diversion detour trail around it. So that property's right up there, skirted around it. Came upon this though, which has me intrigued. It's posted, it's fenced in, and there's a hatch here. I'm guessing maybe something for sewer? They don't want anyone going in there, obviously. But it makes you wonder, why is it there? So if we proceed in this direction, right there is 81 South. And we know the line went directly underneath it. And in the earlier days, well, I don't even think the highway was here. I think this highway was maybe built in the 50s or 60s. And we know this line was in operation long before then. So I'm gonna double check. I believe though, the line came right through part of that property. Got a moment of quietness. It's pretty loud when the 18-wheelers go over. So I did double check on the Railguide app, which I'll share the screenshot with you. We are 100% standing on the rail line itself. Came directly through here, as we already suspected, right through part of that property, which is partially covering it over. And we know the app is sometimes off by a few inches, up to 20 feet. But as far as where we are right now, it shows we're standing dead center right in the rail line. So we have confirmation both with the app and on location. But this is just one leg of our journey, so we need to keep moving. This is a really nice section here, nice and cleared out. But a bit disappointing though, we're not coming across any solid evidence yet. Other than we know we're on the rail line. I'm noticing some concrete here, but it could be dumped here. But also could be from something from long ago. But where's the ties? Where's the spikes? Where's the plates? Where's anything? There's a marker right there with some numbers on it. Wonder if that has something to do with the proposed rail trail. Makes me wonder though, why are the rails and a lot of the infrastructure still intact on the red line section? And here, there's nothing. And here's another post here, so something's being marked or documented. May or may not be related to the project. Nice open field here. The next roadway we're approaching is 309 South. So we have a series of 4 bridges for 81 and 309, both north and south. So trains would have passed through there in the most recent times, and this proposed rail trail, well, it's going to follow the same path underneath the same 4 bridges. Well, may have found our first evidence other than what we already know. Look right here. We have some ties pushed off to the side. They're not in their original placement, obviously. They're just kind of piled up here, but we know those are rail ties, creosote soaked, left here from long ago. So it's positive. It's at least we're seeing something. I was under the suspicion though that when they start construction of this rail trail, that whatever's left is going to be removed permanently. A lot of times that's the case. Sometimes they do salvage things to help remember and signify what used to be here. But in this case, looks like there's not much to remove. It's more or less just clearing the land. Maybe that'll change. I'm still hopeful, but right now, there's not a whole lot that's going to disappear. But we have a pretty neat bridge here, 309 South, and Papa Smurf. And that is really well done. I talked about it before. Personally, I'm not a fan of graffiti. It does depend on the location, but more so depends on what they're actually painting. If it's your traditional, immature garbage, I'm not a fan of that at all. But talented artists like this definitely should have places to showcase their skills. There's even like a pumpkin right there too, jack-o'-lantern. So someone's been down here with some talent. As I mentioned, I'm about a stick figure art level, but that's impressive. Oh, wait, hang on. I almost walked right past it. We got some ties here in their original position. So farther we're going back, the more evidence we're seeing. So under this bridge here, once we pass it, there's some trails diverting in different areas. So we have a trail jetting upwards over here, a trail going down to the left, but I think the main rail line continues over here. So this one actually looks more hopeful that we may find something. This looks different than what we've seen so far. Yeah, look at, ties are here. They're all in place. Okay, this is more what I was looking for. No denying it all. We know the rails came through here, both just with visual confirmation of the rail bed, the app, and now we have direct placement. We're walking right where trains would have been riding back in the day. And this honestly looks wide enough for 2 lines actually. Yeah, clear straight line. This is a really nice wide cleared out area. So if they do come through here to make that trail, makes me wonder, are they gonna rip up all the ties or are they just gonna cover them? I think they should cover them, leave them in place. Looks like maybe, watch off that stick. Looks like maybe another line came down and met up over here. I'll have to check, that might be a spur line. Either that or it's an old access road for the bridges. But we passed under both 81 South, 309 South, 309 North. and up ahead is going to be 81 North. But right here, there's ties all around. This is what I was looking for. This makes me a happy guy because I was getting doubtful we're going to find anything else. But as soon as I saw this area, I'm like, this looks promising. This looks different than what we've seen. I was correct. This was double lined back here. We have a row of ties right here, and right over here, another row of ties. So we have 2 rail lines passing through here at one time. And this section right here, where all these trees are right in front of us, is where all the ties are. They're just protruding out. And up here, there's a heck of a lot more of them. Can we find any nails, spikes, plates, anything? Plenty of nature's carpet. Now these are the ends, so I mean, if we're looking, we'd be looking somewhere in here for any plates or spikes. But all the hardware may have been just ripped up. Squirrel moment here. Just noticed something being constructed over here. Looks like remnants of a tree fort, maybe a hunting stand, and there's also a heck of a lot more ties down here too. Yeah, it looks like somebody started something and never finished it. And I do see remnants of a fire up there too, like a fire ring. A lot of plastic, so this is someone's hangout spot, presumably. Just for curiosity's sake, I did come up to the upper level. The rail line is down there, and we said it looks like maybe a spur line up here. I can't say one way or the other. I don't see any evidence though of that. It looks like a cleared out area maybe for when they were building 81 here. Just to point out, that elevated area is still right next to us. Was or wasn't there a line there? What do you think? Honestly, I'm 50-50 on that. But we're just about at our target destination where we have to turn around because beyond here is private property. It's a scrapyard. But if they do continue the rail trail, well, they're going to have to go through here. I wonder how that's going to play out. I do see them actively working over there. We'll go up to as far as the bridge, and then we'll turn around. Oh, it looks like they're doing some fresh paint work on the bridge too. See a fresh coat of paint up there. But there's a barrier up here, Jersey barriers, so as long as we stay on the backside of that, we're going to be okay. Oh, is this something from the old rail days? Look at this. What do you think that is? Looks like maybe a cable went through here. Like a tie-off point or anchor point. Huh. That looks fairly old. Looks older than the bridge, but why would this be added afterwards? I have any idea what that is, what it could have been used for other than just a cable anchor or tie-off point. Feel free to share. I'm just conflicted on why it's here and it looks much older than the bridge or concrete here. It just could just be rusted and weathered. Yeah, here's the construction site. I should say the scrapyard site. Yeah, they're using big magnet excavators. This area looks cleared out, at least as to differently than how it did on satellite images. I wonder if they're actually going forth with the construction of this rail trail. It just could be a coincidence, but if it was to continue, it's going to be through here. Since I can't go any further, I need to backtrack exactly where I came from, and I'm going to scour the area to see if I can find a plate or a tie. I'm pretty determined to find one, but it might be a needle in a haystack. And then we'll be arriving back in downtown Ashley. Here's the old City Hall building. Looks like it served as maybe a firehouse or ambulance back in the day. I do see an old ambulance sign on the door there. So it looks like it maybe had multiple uses or changed operations over the years, but that means we're back here, downtown area of Ashley. Definitely walked a few miles today. I scoured best I could on the way back and didn't see any spikes or ties, I shouldn't say ties, spikes or plates or hardware. I'm guessing when Conrail ripped up the line, they ripped up the hardware too. So all that's left is just some ties still in place, some of them discarded. But it doesn't answer the question as to why this section of the red line is still in place. We may never get the answer to that, but I'm glad it's still there. It definitely made exploring that section a bit more fun and interesting. What's going to happen in the near future? I don't have the answer to that, but there are signs pointing that there is prep work being done to start this rail trail project. It could just be mere coincidence, or there could be something more substantial going on that isn't publicly shared yet. But all I do know is that this plan is in place. As to when it's going to take place, I don't know, but if it is completed, rest assured, I will be one of the first people to ride it, since I already documented the weirdest section in Laurel Run that has no official access. At least this will give us access to it and a much longer section to ride. So I'm looking forward to it whenever that does happen. If it doesn't, well, maybe I'll just come down my bike myself and ride the same area we just walked. Get to kind of do a small section of it on our own. But truth be told, this is a project I've been meaning to do for a few years now. It just never happened, either due to scheduling conflicts or weather-related issues. And I knew I didn't want to come in the summertime, and I also didn't want to keep putting it off. So I was determined to come winter 2025, as soon as the snow melted enough to get here, documented, and I accomplished my goal. So I'm leaving satisfied. My curiosity has been solved, and hopefully with the feedback from the viewers, we have some more answers as to what was taking place or what will be taking place in the very near future. If anything does get erased permanently, hey, at least we documented it and preserved it here on my channel. Thanks for watching, everyone, and until next time, I'll see you in the next video.